Hi everyone, Drini here, and welcome to my channel. So we're going to take a look at the Star Atlas tokens today, because ever since the Bitcoin capitulation happened, our strategy for POLIS and ATLAS has actually changed significantly. So let's dive into the charts to see what we can see, okay? So I have the chart of POLIS right here, and if you were watching my previous Star Atlas videos, we did specify that the story of POLIS is the story of Fibonacci retracement, but in reverse. So in our last video, we did mention that once we broke through this particular EMA structure right here, so once we broke down right here, we have actually been adhering to Fibonacci structures ever since, even with this particular capitulation. So when we overlay the Fibonacci where this candle that broke structure is the 1 and this is the 0, we've actually been following Fibonacci ever since. So if you notice all of the candles, where they close is typically they meet certain Fibonacci levels as resistance before capitulation, tried to find the next level as support, then broke down, but eventually found support, but broke down, found support, broke down, found support, etc., etc. And you may be wondering, why didn't we just go all the way to 0 upon this capitulation? Once again, that is because of the Fibonacci. This recent price action right here, if you see, is a strict adherence to it. So once we broke through the 1618, we tried to rally past it, but kept meeting it as resistance, and we capitulated down. We held the 2 as support, but once we capitulated, once again, what happened? We have started to meet the 4.22 range as resistance, because that is the 2 Fibonacci. And once we couldn't break past it, what did we do? We continued to break through the 2.272 here, 2.414. And look where we found support, 2.618, but eventually we broke through the 2.618. And where are we now? We have appeared to find support on the 3, which is $2.49, and we have been hovering here ever since. Is this the bottom though? Not necessarily. It really depends on what Bitcoin does. One thing about Fibonacci is from the 2.618 and the 3, there's actually a wide chasm right here. So don't be surprised if we keep hovering around the $3 range all the way down to the $2.49. So if we start doing something like this, then don't be surprised if it does, because once again, this whole market structure has been an adherence to a reverse Fibonacci ever since. So for POLIS, what is the strategy? Because ever since its all-time high right here, so I don't take the run-ups as the all-time high, let's take this particular candle of $16 as the all-time high. From here all the way down, we are currently at 85%. However, it's very important to note that we are in a bearish phase of a lengthened cycle. So the cycle is not over, but the characteristics of the price drawdowns mimic the prolonged bear markets of before. If we take that logic that we are enacting bear market drawdowns during a bearish phase of the cycle, then when we look at past bear markets, so for example, this is the 2017 to the 2018 bear market that happened in the previous cycle. For tokens that have survived, like Cardano for example, the price drawdown from the all-time high all the way to the bottom of that particular altcoin tends to average around 95 to 98%. So will we eventually get to 98%? We shall see. But the 98% drawdown from the all-time high of $16 all the way here is around 32 cents. So a lot of you are probably wondering, should I then wait for this particular drawdown right here? No, because remember, this is not a bear market per se, but rather a bearish phase of a lengthened cycle. So there is a good chance that we may not even get here. If we do, then even better, right? Because you can accumulate. This is pretty much your accumulation phase of a lifetime. But a much better strategy for POLIS moving forward is we need to establish risk thresholds. So what risk thresholds are, if you haven't been watching my past videos, it is the price threshold where as long as the price is below that particular level, we will continue to DCA into it. But once it goes beyond that particular price, you have to stop investing in the project and let the winners ride and enjoy the gains moving forward. That is because when you establish a risk threshold, you're making a negotiation with yourself that for you, the downside risk of investing beyond this price is greater than the upside gains that you may have if you continue to invest past a certain price level. So for POLIS, how do we establish our risk thresholds? This is where the Fibonacci numbers become very, very useful. Because what you can do is you can look at where price found support or where price found resistance, and that could be your risk threshold. For example, this is a particular risk threshold. Why? That is because we struggled mightily to rally past this. So this is a very potent risk threshold. For example, this is around $4.23. Another thing that you can do if you are a bit more conservative, that you don't want to risk so much for price to come back to $4.23 only to fall back down, then you can establish lower risk thresholds. We are currently hovering between the 2.49 and the 3. So this $3 range right here is a potential risk threshold for POLIS, where as long as price is below the $3 range, you will continue to DCA right here. That's one of the good things about a bear market. In a bull market, it's hard to establish this because everything is going up. But in a bearish phase or a bear market, it is much easier to establish thresholds where if price goes beyond it, then you enjoy the gains and enjoy the ride. So diving into Atlas, Atlas is actually the same story. Once the break in structure happened, so this is the candle where the EMAs finally broke through. If we put a reverse Fibonacci where this is the 1 and this is the 0, we have been going through Fibonacci structure. So if you look at the candles right here, that is because between the 1 and the 1.272, there's a chasm right here. But look at the tightening of candles here. That is because between the 1.272 and the 1.414 right here, it's a pretty narrow candle. But once we broke through, look, from the 1.414 to the 1.618, chasm exploration. Once we broke through the 1.618 to the 2, look at the sudden shape of the candle suddenly being big here. That is because this is a chasm of the Fibonacci. This is also another chasm of the Fibonacci between the 2 and the 2.72. And right now, where are we? We appeared to have bounced off the 2.414 right here, climbed back into the 2.72 area, and we have been pretty much between the 2 and the 2.272 ever since. So if you watched my last video on Atlas, we did specify that NFT ownership is superior to Atlas ownership. That is because the assumption that we had was eventually, because staking ships are providing Atlas for free, the fear that we had was eventually you would just have an SLP situation where the price would just continually go down because people would keep dumping Atlas in the market. That has been proven wrong so far. So that's a good thing. I think one of the good things about it is because the ships are so expensive, people are just hanging on to the Atlas they gained in order to buy more ships in the future. So that is actually very, very positive. Now that the Bitcoin capitulation has happened, what do we do moving forward? Because the Atlas price has fallen below key structural levels and it is significantly down. So right now, if we take this as the all-time high right here where we began our descent, all the way down, we have actually fallen 84% already. So one of the good things about this is it has actually made Atlas a very attractive purchase. A good strategy now would be, so instead of saving fiat to buy NFTs, one potential strategy now is you load up on Atlas right now, wait for the appreciation once again, once the bull markets have continued or once Bitcoin has recovered, then you use the profits from this Atlas accumulation right here to repurchase those NFTs. So then you can get Atlas once again for free when you stake this NFT. And I think people have been realizing that. That is because compared to Polis, Atlas has actually had a run-up right here, even though Bitcoin is pretty much going sideways. So, similar to Polis, we still need to establish risk thresholds for Atlas because you don't just want to YOLO everything in here even though the Atlas price is already here, because there will come a time where the Atlas price is actually not worth purchasing as compared to just buying the ships directly. So for Atlas, there are a number of risk thresholds that we can establish. And once again, we refer to the Fibonacci to see where it could potentially be. The first one, of course, is because we have been hovering through this range, if you're very, very conservative, a risk threshold for Atlas would be anything below the 2 or this level, which is around 5 cents, is a potential risk threshold. Where as long as we've been playing through here, then you just keep DCAing right here. Another potential area of a risk threshold is this particular low right here, which coincides with the 1618 of this particular structure. So this is another risk threshold if you're slightly more aggressive of around 7 cents. And finally, the third risk threshold is actually this 1.414 right here, or this support area where the swing low happened. This is around 8 cents. So moving forward, it's up to you. You can continue to accumulate from here. And one good thing about having risk thresholds is now the everyday price action doesn't really matter to you because you have established, okay, as long as the price goes below this, it doesn't matter how low we can go. We can go as low as 1 cent, for example. It doesn't matter because of my risk threshold. As long as it's below this, I will continue to DCA regardless of how small the amounts because you have an overall plan of stacking Atlas. And once the value appreciates once more, Then you can use the profits from there to buy the ships that we need for the game. If you like that video, hit like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you want me to make a video about your favorite gaming crypto? Be a Patreon subscriber so you can request for it. Being a Patreon subscriber helps keep the channel sponsor, shill, and Moonboy free. Take care everyone. Bye-bye.